What is happening, fam? It is your boy, the Sultan of Sativa, the Ayatollah of Indica, the Bobby Fischer of BHO, aka Ned Sparks, aka President of the United States of America, Donald Blunt, aka Lord Bongtimore. And I'm here today with a very special guest, a good friend of mine, the Leg Octopus UFC's first veteran of UFC 2. The guy bends steel. He's been through it all. 30
How'd you
years
know
in the
Ben
rush. Because I do
cool.
my homework. Sean, I just was listening to you on like the Beyond the Bend podcast.
Oh, Cody, right?
Yeah. And you guys had a pretty cool conversation about some jiu-jitsu, catch wrestling, bend and steel. I had no idea. I don't think I've ever thought about bending steel other than like strongman 1800s circus trick type situation. And so it was cool to hear you talk about it. And I definitely want to touch on that.
That sounds good. Yeah, that's cool. That's an odd one-off. Sometimes I
Well,
forget.
I have zero concept of what that actually takes other than taking rebar or something and just being like, yeah, you know.
It's a mental thing. It's pretty cool. Actually, I mean, we might as well get into it now. I mean, like,
Yeah,
it's like it is strong. Like how I learned about it was from a book called Joseph, the Mighty Atom: The Spiritual Journey of Joseph Greenstein. And this guy was a 5'4" little tiny Jewish man from Poland, maybe 140 pounds, but he can bend horseshoes with his bare hands, railroad spikes, shit like that. So it inspired me just to bend 20 penny nail, like a 20 penny nail, framing nail, stuff like that. Bending, like I used to do that with my bare hands. So I didn't even wrap it. I got my hands so calloused and everything, and the nerves deadened in my fingers where I could just bend it around my finger and then half it, and then I was sticking my teeth and bite it to where the nail would come to here and I would close it down. But yeah, there's just something about it, about bringing all your energy into one teeny tiny focal point all at once. And it's just such a, this is what we like what I would call like true chi, not this bullshit that you hear about, like
not the McDojo chi.
But for me, chi is when you concentrate so much that you get your muscles and your mind in coordination so perfectly that you're able to have your flesh bend steel. You know what I mean? It's a gut check. It's a zen. It's a brutal thing. It's a very much damaging to the body kind of thing. Like one of my friends, Don, what's his name? Don Cummings? Is that what it is? Don Cummings is his name. Steel bending. He tore a pec.
Oh, damn.
He tore his pec off the bone. He had to get it reattached, and he's already doing like isometric holds, like on a board. Like he's 3 months out from his surgery, and he's already getting after it. It's crazy, but yeah, man, it takes a mental focus. It's right up there with Wim Hof kind of thing. The breathing and everything that you have to do to bend steel it's pretty intense. You have to get a lot of things. It's a sequential of events of muscle and contraction and everything. The whole body contracts when that happens. It's cool.
Yeah, I've listened to some other podcasts you've done, and it's unique, dude. Like I said, I mean, it only really added kind of more to my thoughts about like who you are and just kind of a little bit more about my picture of you. And it's like, I mean, it's still like, of course, why wouldn't Sean be a guy that's been into bending steel? Like it may when I heard.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say when I heard you just talk about like the Zen element of it and kind of just the thought of putting all your energy into it. It almost is like a good metaphor kind of for just the ADD nature of like getting hyper focused in on something, but just in a physical, like that's cool, man. That was like a really neat thing.
But yeah, and it's just one of the part of the ADHD. It's just one of the many things. Like I've done so many different fucking things. It's hard to keep track of sometimes. Like I should feel fulfilled in my life, but I'm never satisfied. She's never satisfied. Prince right there.
Mm-hmm.
Too much like my mother. She never satisfied. But no, I've done so many fucking things like within the sports realm, outside of the sports realm, all kinds of different things. I mean, it's the jack of all trades for that. That's why I got the octopus completely covered on my whole body, tattooed on my whole body because I'm an octopus. Too many things. I got 9 minds. Too many minds, 9 brains.
Would you clone yourself if you could to be able to do all of the things that you want to do?
No, because maybe double the executive dysfunction. Because I've done all these things, but what it takes to get those things done, well, not really, because those are all things that interest me. If it interests me, there's nothing stopping me. But if it's something that's mundane, the executive dysfunction kind of fucks me up. But it's I get through it.
I think that's one of the biggest things for me is trying to master the mundane. Try to find ways to make this certain dumb shit fun. Because otherwise, it's like, who gives a crap?
Right. Well, that's one of the core. Well, one of the things that all champions have in common is the ability to endure sheer boredom.
Mm.
And that's the mundane. That's the ab work. That's the
just chicken and rice every day.
Yeah, it's the stoicism of it all, but it's you have to be able to endure sheer boredom in order to make it in life sometimes, especially if you're ADHD. I mean, everything's boring to me. Like that's one of my problems. It causes depression too, because it's just like I'm so fucking stimulated by my environment.
Dude, I mean, we definitely connect on that realm. I mean, that feels like my whole entire life. Like if it interests me, I'm all the way in, all the way. If it does not interest me, it's like pulling a donkey along. Just it's tough, dude. It's
Yeah, donkey.
I think
that's a good one. We should coin that, donkey brain.
Yeah. Because I mean, we've talked about it. That stuff that'll take only a few minutes is just like dreadful. Just like dreadful.
Yeah. I was supposed to call the VA today, and
oh my god! Don't even get me started.
I have two root canal crowns, right? And I just learned about how jacked up it is to keep fucking necrotic tissue in your head. I mean, the bone actually rots. I've seen the X-rays. I'm like losing bone mass. I had to get it re-drilled because there was an infection in there, and I've learned that it's just bad to keep these fucking in there. And so I need to. This is a serious health thing that I got going on. It's already affecting me. I need to get them pulled out. All I need to do is call the VA and make an appointment. But the thought of fucking calling the VA and getting on the phone and making that appointment will cause pain. Damn near. It's not a pain that I can describe like a physical pain, but it's just like a sheer.
You don't have to.
I don't know. It's like that's how I can describe it. But
yeah, I mean, look, everybody's been.
You're all blacked out. I can't see you. Will the audience work for you?
Yeah. I still have video. Am I not videoed over there?
No, I can't see
my internet's sometimes my internet's a little wonky. Yeah, it says my. So you will see me. If you don't, I'm sure I'll pop in and out, but I'm here. As long as you can hear me. If you can, if there's any issue, let me know and pop in and out.
Yeah, I can totally hear you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I definitely understand. I mean, but I think most people know what it's like to get on the phone with Comcast and how soul-sucking of an experience it is. I've actually wondered if I could sue Comcast for like emotional damage every time I have to call them. or the electric company.
Emotional damage.
Yeah, emotional damage. I mean, you said with the ADD, I mean, we connect in the punk realm too. I know we have a pretty comparable taste in music.
Skateboarding.
Skateboarding.
I still skate.
What are you riding right now? What's your current setup?
Uh,
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, I've got an anti-hero set up with some independent. Okay.
ran.
This is a nice little cruiser there.
But independent trucks, I kickflip all this fucker across gaps. But
Hell yeah.
I
With
preach some
those
kids.
wheels, that's heavy.
But I had my last one. My last one was a classic Zorlak.
Yeah, you grew up in a very cool era of skateboarding, more what, like the 80s and not early 90s?
Yep, yep.
So who were some of
Late
your favorite
80s,
skaters back then?
late 80s, early 90s. Really liked Ray Barbie because I love no
Nice.
compliance. I love no compliance. No compliance. Plus, no compliance. A good word, a good term for nowadays. Over the past.
Wish more people did some no complies.
Mhm. Yeah. Let's see. Ray Barbie, Bill Danforth, Tony Hawk was just so good. Like I was, Tony Hawk was like a mainstream.
You should,
We were
you
more
sh
like Team Alva. You know, uh, fucking yeah, man. Who didn't be? Damn, I don't even think I liked that. I wasn't really into it. Like so. Something about me is like I love doing all sports, but I hate watching any of it. I don't like watching skateboarding. I don't like watching fighting. I don't like watching football. Nothing. But I love doing it. I can't sit there and just watch it. So I don't really have favorite fighters. I don't have favorite skateboarders or anything like that. I'm my favorite fighter. I'm a favorite skateboarder. I'm not trying to be. It's not like a
no, no, I
narcissistic
get
thing.
it.
I just focus on that, and that's why I get good at what I do. Um, and I don't compare myself to others at all. Like when it comes to that shit, never did. I never chased belts either. Those are all topics we could probably discuss. And the
Oh,
belts came. I didn't chase belts, and then I ended up having multiple black belts. So that's a weird thing. It's like what you're not looking for, you end up getting a lot of.
that's deep. I think my favorite guy from back then was Dwayne Peters. He was a pretty aggressive punk dude, and he was on Black Label, later on down the road, and but he was like super punk. He was actually the singer of U.S. Bombs, um,
Okay.
and I loved that guy when I was a teenager. But for me, my generation, we would get like a skate video, like a little VHS tape. We'd all like be doing our little mechanic work to our skateboards, pop in a video, watch the video, and then that would pump us up, and we'd all just go mob to a spot and shred out for a while.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
same here. I mean, like we watched I remember H Street videos were probably one of my favorites. Those were cool. Uh, course, the Bones Brigade, but they were, like I said, the Bones Brigade,
uh,
like Stacy Peralta made a like real like G-rated kind of like team, kind of,
right.
I liked, like I said, I liked, Dogtown and Alva, the team Alva, well, Tony Alva was Dogtown and became Alva, of course, but it's yeah, I don't know. Like skating to me is pretty sacred. I don't know. Like I taught my son over when COVID kicked off, and he's really good now, and we go to skate parks together when I'm healthy enough. I could still launch. I can still skate half pipe. Like 6 weeks after my knee surgery, I did two frontside airs on a half pipe, and then a method air on a launch ramp, and it was pretty cool, to be able to be 47, 48, I'm in my late 40s, and still be able to do that kind of stuff even when I'm injured. When I was a kid, I always said, I would skate till I die. And I'm keeping that promise to myself. Even if all I can do is carve, I'll go out and carve. You
Well,
know,
Mark Gonzalez has my favorite quote about skateboarding. The essence of skateboarding is in turning. So if all you can do is carve, man, that's what skateboarding was born and bred upon.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
that sidewalk surfing.
it's from surfing. Yeah, man. And you know who else I really like is Rodney Mullins. Like I didn't like him when I was a kid.
Oh,
I didn't understand because I hated that freestyle shit. But
that guy's autistic.
I love him. His brain's fucking beautiful. It's fucking great.
Oh yeah,
So he has this quote of saying, um, "The context shapes the content," and that's what skateboarding is all about. The context shapes the content. So you work with what you have, right? So you walk up to a scene. You got a curb right there. You got a gap over there. So I'm going to set my run up according to what I have, right? Same thing in wrestling or fighting. Uh, um, when you move, I move. When you move is when I have something to work with. Okay, you're the context. Your movement is the context that shapes my content that I do to you. Get it? So the context, the layout, and then is what I can, and then is dictates what I can put into it. It's kind of like how
that's
all of it works that way. And I always thought that was a beautiful quote, man. That just really put everything into perspective for me. And I use that all the time in jiu-jitsu and stuff when I teach. Uh, the context shapes the content.
I think uh, one one of the videos that was a staple pre-skateboarding for us was the Rodney Mullen versus Day One song, round 1 and 2. Um, but I think skateboarding very much helps jujitsu. I mean, it's like you spend all that time figuring out how to maneuver your body in certain ways with different levels of weightlessness. It's no different than when somebody's trying to butterfly sweep you, figuring out where to balance, how to maneuver your legs, hip movement, even
Yeah.
some fast flicks.
Yeah. And then, like I have a continuum of things that I did since I was a kid. So when I was a kid, 5, 6 years old, I did gymnastics. And then fourth grade, got into breakdancing. Um, and then what else? And then skateboarding, and then
So
kickboxing.
So yeah, I was gonna ask. Obviously, I want to touch a little bit on. I definitely need to touch on some fighting. The UFC's first veteran. Unfortunately, UFC.
Yeah, the UFC too. I was big John McCarthy's. Let's get it on.
That's
And I
so epic.
fought a ninja, and I lost to a ninja, to a head and arm choke. I actually pulled him over. Like he did a sacrifice roll, and I pulled him over into full mount.
It's the worst, dude. I mean, it's crazy to think about how like those early UFCs were just set up to showcase Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. But what always cracks me up, and I know I've talked to you about it, but obviously I liked it because I was like, oh, Ken Shamrock's in these. I know him from wrestling, from WWF. And when I went back, I don't know, a couple of years ago and watched UFC 1 again for the first time in years, and you realize Ken Shamrock heel hooked that motherfucker, not hoist, but like to get to the finals, he busted a heel hook.
Yeah, Pat
And,
Smith.
yeah, and so it's like, hey, dude, the heel hook has its place.
Oh yeah, so heel hook was the first submission Ken taught me and did to me. He ripped both my ankles. Like, because that was like a tradition. You kind of rip the ankles to get them loose. The Japanese.
Is it?
You can't
I
leg lock
I
the Japanese, dude. Their ankles are so tore up.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the way they those dudes toe hold people. I mean, it's just like brutal. The
Yeah.
old Japanese. I mean, Pride. There was a lot of good shit. The Pancrase stuff.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Pat Smith, there's a student
Oh shit.
that's a signed and autographed picture of Pat Smith elbowing the shit out of Scott Morris, the ninja that beat
Mm.
me. That was UFC too. He signed it for my son Dathan. I went. I
Dang.
took my kid with me to a UFC reunion in New York, and he got to meet Art Davey. and Sean Wheelock, Remco Pardue, and Sean Wheelock and Art Davey, they wrote the book together. Is This Legal? Sean Wheelock is the announcer for the bare knuckle boxing that Chris Lytle's doing.
Dude, that's a great gift.
Pretty cool. It was cool to talk to, catch up with him. That was actually a cool dude. He
I
believe cancer. He died a couple of years after I met him. Like I knew him from the UFC. We hung out there, but when I saw him at the reunion, he died a couple of years later.
Gotcha. That's like, dude, that's like vengeance. It's like, hey, here's a signed picture of me beating the guy that beat you.
Right? Yeah, I got it up here. But yeah, there's some stories behind that. I can tell you behind the scenes.
That's cool.
Beat the shit out of him like that. I don't want to say it on here just because, you know.
Yeah, of course, please.
It's one of those things that's better to have. Like you get to be privy to the knowledge. Those who are in the know.
Yeah, I trust me, I love it, dude. I mean,
that's the reason why Pat Smith did that too, Scott Morris.
yeah, I'm super appreciative, man. Of everything, you know, from you coming taking some time to hop on here with me. You know, a little invite to work on some jujitsu. You know, it's crazy how much jujitsu has like become a big part of my life, but then like also there's just so much to it that like you recognize out in the rest of the world that, you know, it's like, oh, this is jujitsu. It's become the thing to refer to as like a you know, it's like, oh, the shit I learned on the mats, the shit you learn about people, you know, good and bad, right? Because we've talked about you can't put people on pedestals just because they have some rank. You know, I mean, you said earlier the belt system, you know, you'd ever chase the belts and it wasn't relevant to you. And, you know, I mean, ultimately, I'm trying to develop a skill set, you know, and, you know, where I feel like I'm at with my jujitsu is like, okay, I've gotten like a couple little things that feel cool, but there's like glaring opportunities in other places. And so like now I'm doing more stand up, right? Trying to learn some judo, trying to learn some wrestling, you know, finding stuff to be able to blend with everything to make myself more complete when it comes to the jiu-jitsu realm.
Right. And that's the key, and that's exactly what I did. Was I just looked at where my weaknesses were. I followed all my weaknesses until they became strengths. I hunted them. You know, that's why I fought in the UFC, was to find out, to test my fucking skills. Guess what? Striking wasn't enough. I learned that. So what did I do? I moved in with Ken Shamrock and became one of the original Lions Den members. Me, Jason DeLucia, and Frank Shamrock were all there. Vernon White, Scott Bizak. Yeah, that was our core guys. And
Can you talk?
That was where I learned the beginnings of submission was catch wrestling, shoot fighting.
Can you go over a little bit?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
A little bit. No, it's cool. Could you go over a little bit of what like the workouts were like at the Lions Den?
Yeah. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it was wake up, eat your chicken and rice, and then go lift weights for an hour and a half, and then food again, take a couple hour break, and then we're doing our calisthenics, warming up for grappling. So we do like drag and roll, like, you know what a drag and roll is?
Yeah.
It's when you go belly down over on your belly and you kick your legs over, heel overhead. You're like bridging over yourself. So you're like, you go bridge, kick your legs over, bridge, kick your legs over, and then you go forward like a worm, like breakdancing worm, but you let your heels go over your head and you're rolling you're like a half circle rolling on your belly.
Mm.
So 10 forward, 10 back, 10 minutes, 5 minutes of bridging forward, 5 minutes of bridging backward on your head, tons of calisthenics, 500 squats, 200 push-ups, 500 sit-ups, 500 leg lifts, all that kind of stuff. And then we wrestled for hours, and then we go home, eat, all that kind of stuff, and then go back for another, technique session at night. And then on Tuesdays, Thursdays, they were like the Gotch Bible. We would get the cards out, do our cardio runs, and focus on grappling, as well. So it was like Monday, Wednesday, Fridays were the harder days. Tuesdays, Thursdays were the lighter days. Saturdays, Sundays off. So Saturdays we would sometimes go in for an extra, technique kind of day, just kind of thing. But that was about it. And the food was all we were allowed to eat was chicken and rice, basically. We would
Straight
sneak. We would
bodybuilder.
actually. We would sneak. Me and Jason Franklin, though, we would sneak whoppers and beers and go sit at the pool over at Bar Harbor was the name of the gym I think that we worked out at. But we would sit by the pool and eat whoppers to try to get our fats. And then after a while, like a few years later, after I left, Ken got wise and learned about eating fats and shit for tendons and ligaments. Having fats in your diet was better for submissions. You can fight your submissions harder. If you didn't have fats, your joints got brittle.
Mm. Yeah, that was actually something I was going to ask you about because I know uh, in your obsessive brain, obviously a part of fighting and training and, recover, like, and obviously given some of your injuries and the time you've spent away, you've had to focus on the recovery elements a lot too. What's some of your favorite kind of recovery stuff and what kind of diet did you switch to after you left there?
Oh, back then, shit, I had never had like a good diet of anything. No,
Mm.
I'm just over the past couple of years, I'm actually learning what my body needs as a diet. I'm almost 50 years old. Shit, over the past few years, we've come the apocalypse. The word apocalypse means the great revealing. So the great revealing of the past few years is that fucking medical science has been fucking dog shit. We've been fed fucking bullshit for so long, skewed studies, from big pharma and big agriculture and uh, everybody paying their fucking scientists to skew their fucking data, and then the revolving door effect of paying lobbyists and Congress and shit like that, fucking switching out. We know that we're being fed dog shit completely all the way around. So, you know, I over the past couple of years, I've learned to get rid of my gluten. I've learned about gluten, get rid of it. Fucking seed oils, get rid of it. Everything I eat now is completely just. I eat a pound of ground beef a day. It's grass fed, organic. I have shakes that have minimal protein powders that have minimal ingredients. And I eat fruits, organic fruits and organic vegetables. And everything's just bland. Everything's just, I season things up with garlic, cayenne, turmeric, ginger, things like that. And I just eat the fucking same thing every day, and that's cleared up my guts. I used to have bad gut issues, excuse me, bloating, uh, all kinds of shit going on with me. Like, and when I got my diet under control like that, and also intermittent fasting, I eat very little, What I just knocked off isn't that much. What I just set off, wasn't that much. But I feel great. Like, I never felt better. But too bad it's like after the fact that I've already done all the fucking damage, you know, aside from all the anatomical shit that's going on after the 24 surgeries. Uh, Aside from that, I feel pretty fucking good.
Right, right. Dude, I feel like you've lived such a crazy life, traveling overseas, the martial arts side of things, your spiritual journey, obviously. In 22 years as a Mormon, to me, just
22 years a month. I got to write
it
that book.
seems it seems like such a thing, you know?
Yeah, it was a journey. Yeah, after I came back home from the Lions, then I joined the Mormon church and went on a mission, got married, all that good stuff, and um, it opened my eyes to a lot of things. Did a lot of different things with it. Served a mission in Las Vegas. Um, uh, but after it's all said and done, it didn't serve me well all the way. The whole time I just had low self-esteem and just constantly it's like a narcissistic parent. All religions like that. Mormonism is no different than anything else. But there are a lot more like stringent kind of like lifestyle things. You can't drink coffee use tobacco. So coffee, tea, tobacco, alcohol, or other harmful substances, illegal stuff. Um, but no premarital sex, no rated R movies, going to church every Sunday, paying 10% of your gross income without question. Speaking without question, you can't question authority in any way, shape, or form, which is your number one indicator of a cult.
Point, point,
And then
point.
very guarded church history. And then it wasn't until like over the past 10 years that members of the church got actual access to real church history. And it turns out all that stuff that the church said was anti-Mormon literature was actual just church history. So like when I had tons of cognitive dissonance, like I would with any religion, believing in a star daddy and shit like that. But I just had a lot of cognitive dissonance, but it was always just, oh, the Lord's ways, not my ways, that kind of thing. It's just little things. And plus having my whole family, my wife and kids in it, and the extended family, it's just a hard thing to leave. Right. And it's a hard thing to make the decision to be like, hey, this isn't right for me. So, it came to a head when like my kids started being affected by the way the church runs. Like they'll have purity interviews, like a bishop is in a closed room, one-on-one with a boy or a girl and talking to them about chastity shit. Like, do they masturbate? Are they having sex? Shit like that. Shouldn't be having this fun
Damn.
kids. Yeah.
Oh
So,
no.
dude, the line gets crossed 1,000 times over in so many ways, so many unethical things, but the Lord's ways are not our ways kind of thing. And that's, and it's, and all the Mormons think that it's the true religion and they're right. Everyone else is wrong. It's very elitist. And then I'm finding out after the fact, I'm finding all kinds of shit out, like the Skinwalker. So there was this Chief Walker or Wakara, Brigham Young called him Walker because he couldn't pronounce his name right. And the Mormons, have this belief about the Native Americans that they're ancient Israelites and that one day they'll be turned white again because their skin was cursed because they broke their covenant. They were once white and they broke their covenant. They were cursed with dark skin and shit like that, right? So, and that there's these prophecies that they called Lamanites, the Native Americans, and they're getting it's prophecy that they would become white and delightsome and the desert shall flourish as the rose and all this kind of shit. So, Chief Wakara he was a Ute Indian tribe and he was kidnapping a Cherokee. I believe it was Cherokee. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but there was Navajo. I think it's Navajo. And they were stealing women and children, right? At night, he was like put on like a wolf skin or animal skin, and then him and his people would steal, and they'd bring them to the Mormons, and the Mormons would buy the kids and women and adopt them into their families, right? And to try to like convert them and bring them in, back to the faith, the covenant and shit like that. So the Skinwalker, the whole Skinwalker folklore comes from the Mormons.
I had no clue.
Native American women and children.
Yeah, there's how much,
dude, you're gone
in the modern. Can you hear
me?
Or
I just said.
No, you're You're recording fine. I got you. I haven't lost you once. Can you hear me? Are we still here? Can you hear me or no? I can switch up my location. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna change this up. I'm gonna just move technical difficulties. Can you hear me? And or see me? Am I here? Are you here? Can you hear me? Oh, I know. You know what I could do? I have an idea. So I can add myself in. Can you hear me?
What's up, dude?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay, cool.
How much got recorded?
All of it. It's recording. Even though
Like when
it's
you completely disappeared and said host will be back soon.
just now.
You might want to check it. If you can you like play back? Dude, I was on a fucking tangent too.
Oh yeah,
I was going to discourse of Skinwalker.
Yeah, dude, it's great. Hold on 1 second.
No, I don't think it was recording when I was talking.
No, it was.
Like right now it's recording because I don't see you or hear you. It says host will be here soon. Please stay in the app while your recording is up.
Can you hear me? Yeah, oh, it was definitely recording. We got all that. That was great. I could hear all of it. It was
Okay, so you heard about
Yep, I was watching you. I didn't lose you at all.
So it says Sean Doc Etai.
Yeah, dude, phenomenal. I love it. I had no clue. I didn't know any of that about the Mormons. I was about to ask you about how many Mormons did you know personally that practice the principle? Is that real deal in the modern era, or
What do you mean practice the principle? You mean like actually live
polygamy?
the religion?
No.
Oh, dude, that's a fun. That's a no. That's not a mainstream church thing. The church as a whole gave it up like 1890 something, but then you have fundamental Mormons who thought that that was not a good move, who kept it, but they were like all considered excommunicated and shit. And they were like became like a branch off, like they call them pliggies out west, polygamists Mormons. But yeah, those aren't actual members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But no, I didn't know any polygamists.
No pliggies.
So never came across. Not my bag.
And
but
so what was like the final straw for you deciding to leave? Like what,
between my kids, my sons, dealing with like that stuff, and then like realizing, yeah, I never felt right about this stuff, so done, that kind of thing. It was the church history, the changing of stories over and over and over again. It's like I see patterns, man, and I was seeing the patterns early on, but it was easy to,
like
that
justify it?
yeah, just kind of like shrug it off, like there's all kinds of things. It's the church is, very patriarchal. Women don't really, should be seen and not heard more so, kind of thing. Men get away with everything, like fucking, like women get excommunicated just like that. Dudes don't. A man and a woman could do the same exact thing, and the dude would get a preference and be treated differently. I saw it 1,000 times. You know what I mean? It's just common that tons of child abuse shit is being revealed, sexual abuse shit. Where the church doesn't. They have lawyers for this shit. Where they don't want you going out to the law. They want to keep it in house. Right, and they get lawyers involved in shit, and they fucking railroad these families into being quiet. And it's fucking crazy, dude. And they have this, it's this thing about not reporting. They don't have to report child sexual abuse, because it's confidentiality between a bishop and the person, confessing or whatever. Fucking dude.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man. And these fucking dudes are fucking protected. Hell, I remember my brother. My brother was he joined the church after I did, and he was like asked to house of one of these dudes, like this dude molested his kids or whatever, and he needed to be removed from the family. Instead of being put in jail, shit like that, they asked my brother to let him stay at his house so he didn't have to be with his family, whatever. Fuck, dude. But yeah, dude, I mean, I can't believe, I mean, I'm embarrassed into it as long as it was, whatever. My only excuse is, AU ADHD. I take shit literally. I'm a little bit gullible. you know, I believe everybody's telling me the truth. When they're talking to me a lot, I used to get made fun of a lot because I was believing somebody. And it's like, why the fuck would I fucking think you're lying to me? Why, who fucks with people? I don't fuck with people. You know what I mean? I don't make fun of people. I don't
Right,
fuck with
right.
people. I don't lead people along. I don't try to fucking play pranks and do jokes. And I don't want that shit done to me. It's just, I'm a straight shooter. I like to fucking have everything literal. Just fucking tell me what you want, what you need, what's going on, and don't fucking sugarcoat shit. Don't fucking beat around the bush. Don't be whatever. Don't paint a picture. Just fucking talk to me. Say it. Communicate. And there's just too much bullshit in this world, and I need to know what's real, what's cut and dry, so tell me your fucking truth. And if you can't tell me your fucking truth, fucking kick rocks, walk on. Because I don't even want to fuck with you. If you gotta hide shit from me about yourself, fuck off. That's just kind of like how I am
Nice.
with it, and
That's real, man.
that's how real. You know what I mean? And it's it's not for the world. I'm not for the world. I hate this world. When I say the world, it's kind of like the city of man, the city of God kind of thing. To me, the city of God is nature, working with nature, living in nature, not changing nature, changing yourself according to nature. Don't change that river, change yourself and your needs that goes along with the river. Don't dam the river, don't change its direction, so on and so forth. You know, um, Whereas the world wants to change nature, wants to change everything. That's why we have all this false shit. That's the matrix. Okay. All these fake rules that make weak people strong in power, you know, and where it would never be that way in nature. A weak man could never rise.
Right.
And when I say weak, I mean that's
Right.
physical and mental. A coward who fucking hurts other people and tries to get gain, and a buddy fucker. Let's use that way, a buddy fucker. Blue
A
Falcon.
buddy fucker. Sounds an
Yeah,
awful lot
people
like the
who,
people who
yeah,
are in the U.S. government.
oh, all governments, yeah, yeah. I mean, all the people, all the deciders, yeah.
Yeah.
This
This the
this
tyrannical
unhinged,
overlords.
yeah, peddling this unhinged, irresponsible version of capitalism and consumerism, where we're
Yeah.
the working slaves. We're taken away from our farms and out of the city, and brought into the city, into the cell blocks. You know, think about it. A city block is a cell block. Your home, your apartment is your cell. What do? You get up to go, you get let out to go work for the man, whichever man it might be, unless you work for yourself. But even then, you still got to pay the man. Yeah.
Yeah, I talk to people all the time, and I'm like, dude, you realize we are slaves. We are wage slaves, for taxes. We spend over half the year, 60, 70% of our time paying the government. Like, well, I only get taxed 30% on my check. Yeah, but then you got to pay sales tax. You got to pay tax on shit that you buy, shit that you sell. Your house needs to pay taxes. The land your house is on, you need to pay taxes. You want
Yeah.
to get a stock trade, you got to pay
And then,
taxes. You're paying
yeah,
tax.
and then they shut us off from our own access to fresh water supply, and they put a gate behind clean water because the water that's provided by the city is unclean, unfit to drink. Now you got to go fucking buy clean water, and then you think you're buying clean water. It's full of fucking forever chemicals and arsenic and whatever the fuck else that we're finding out. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, bro. We cannot win. It is, we are eating prison food. We're being given fucking prison food.
Yeah.
Everything about this, like this is why the whole Anunnaki story actually makes sense. that aliens came and they got sick and tired of doing the work themselves, so they fucking genetically coded monkeys to become more like them, and we got us, and we're the slaves. We're designed just to serve them. And they're the master, and we're the monkeys in a cage. The monkeys that beat each other, they were taught to beat each other because, and then the guy who taught them to beat each other is not even there anymore. The
Mm-hmm.
aliens left, and we're still doing the shit that they fucking taught us is to enslave each other. We're the only fucking animal on this planet that enslaves itself.
Yeah. I mean, you
What
can
the
look
fuck?
throughout the history, and it's everywhere. I mean,
Yeah,
shit. Even
human
today,
trafficking is the oldest fucking profession in the book. Not prostitution, human trafficking. Humans,
yeah,
the
and
commodity of humans.
they say there's more slavery today than ever in history before.
And we're voluntarily doing it.
That's bread and circuses, baby.
Yep.
You
Dude, it's
know, and
amazing. I'm
I
so glad I studied psychology. Like I'm so glad I studied all this kind of stuff to know my surroundings. I
what's
see it.
what's that study? I forget who did it or whatever, but there's a study where there was like five people in the room. Uh, four of them were a part of like the study, and then one guy didn't know what was going on. And the guy comes, the professor comes in or whatever, and is like, "There's three lines on the wall," and he's like, "Which one is the longest?" And it's like A is clearly the longest. And so the guy raises his hand for A,
Right.
and the other four raise it for C. And then they do this a few times, and after like the fourth or fifth time, everyone is raising their hand for the wrong answer just because he didn't want to not be a part of. They played on
Right.
that same exact psychology throughout the last 3.5 years, and they're getting ready to do it again, it seems like. You know?
Oh, dude, no, they've been doing it all along. That's the thing. They just got a spotlight. I mean, it was just kind of like a hyperbolized version, and you know what I mean, like a caricature of it happened over the past few years. But that's just the way it's always been. And then we're learning that like all these fucking actors are all pretty much working for the CIA. Hollywood is. We're learning all this kind of shit. That's the conspiracy theories became conspiracy facts over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And, they've all been proven, and it's not every single one of them. I don't believe that they're actual fucking reptilian overlords and shit like that. But, you could use that as a metaphor that these fucking cold blooded lizard souls, who don't even look at their fellow humans as humans. I'm talking about the elites who are, the super rich running the show, how they
Yeah.
actually feel about people like you and I. We
They
are
hate
just
us.
fodder. Yeah, we're fodder. We are
They want
simply
to
a
see
tool.
bugs.
Yeah, we're a tool. Yeah, it's like Snowpiercer, the train
Yeah,
of the
they want to see
casting.
the bug burgers.
Yeah, fucking insane.
And
But they get all the good food. They'll have all the good grass fed organic food. They'll have all the whole food and all that kind of stuff.
hey,
Yeah.
red meat rots your colon, dude.
Oh yeah, it gives you cancer, makes you have heart attack, all that kind of shit, right? Fuck off.
Fuck off.
I bought into it. I didn't know any fucking better. I listened. You know what I mean? And I tried vegetarian, I tried vegan, I tried Sugar Busters diet, I tried Atkins diet. I've done everything you can fucking think of. And anything processed, anything that's other than natural, don't eat it. If it comes in a box, don't eat it. If you have to unwrap it, don't eat it. Unless you're unwrapping a banana, you know. It's fuck, dude. I mean, seriously. I mean, think about it. They took us out of nature. They took us, and they got rid of our natural ability. Like got rid of the. Why are there no orchards? Why are there no like all the fruit bearing foods that were always plentiful? Because they went and fucking took, uh, and destroyed it. And turned
Dude,
everything into corporate farms, industrialized farms, shit like that, where you had to pay for everything. You have to pay for the fucking air you breathe. If you want clean air, you got to go buy an oxygen tank now. You see what I mean? It's like everything you want, you're gonna have to fucking pay for it. Where the fuck is nature in that? How is this true? How is capitalism fucking the closest thing to nature that we can get?
Well, I think
You know?
that, they always talk about socialism degrades to communism, or it's what they use to usher in the communism. I mean, where we're at now,
No, none of
obviously,
it works. Hey, socialism doesn't work.
yeah,
Communism works. Capitalism doesn't work. Put us back in nature, where it's a one for one.
yeah,
You work, you get
yeah.
energy for
This,
energy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that the capitalist system that we have has degraded into a corporate oligarchy, straight fascism, to where now all public policy is dictated by the corporations. That has nothing to do with nature. That has nothing to do with who we are as humans and what we're meant to do. I mean, that's like how I even got into the whole conspiracy realm in the first place, is because I could feel being in school at a young age felt like this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I remember the cold hard realities of 7th grade when I went to middle school and there was no recess, because gym class was not recess.
Yeah.
And and that was like when it really, and then I was in 8th grade when 9/11 happened. And um even shortly after that, when I really started diving into things, I can see now how some of that shaped, some of my belief system was shaped around certain propaganda. And you
Oh
have
yeah.
to, you have to realize that a lot of these people that talk about conspiracy stuff, it's like these controlled opposition type people where they give you all sorts of stuff that, yeah, is true, and we see it and it's verifiable that it is true and happened. But then like they keep like certain shit from you, or they say it's this instead of that, and then, but if the average person, I've been researching this kind of shit for 20 years, literally. And thank God that I've like worked doing the things that I have to try to work for myself, and really put time in to like looking at these things and figuring them out. Because if I didn't, I'd be fucking lost like a lot of these people. And that's why I get so frustrating when they're like, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, I'm a conspiracy factor. You're a complicity theorist. You were just taking us right along this ride where it has nothing to do with what we need to really be doing and figuring out who we are as humans.
Yeah. And these are the kind of people who are, they're the kind of people who can be bribed and they can be told to shut up, very easily. And that's, I might be too. Who knows if I was given the chance of, having $1 billion, would I shut up? I don't know. you know, it's
Yeah.
because it is a part of me. It's like, fuck everyone else too. Like I'm tired of humans. At the same time, there's a part of me that has an elitist kind of feel of like, I'm so fucking sick and tired of all these stupid motherfuckers who will not open their eyes, who will not fucking slow down and think more about their surroundings and their actions and how it affects others and so on and so forth. These are the people who don't stop. These are the people who don't want to know. They don't want to know what the outcome is that's happening of how they got that 100,000 this time. Who is going without because they got this. You know what I mean? They don't think about cause and effect. They don't think about,
Mm.
they're the kind of people who step on others to get to where they want to go, without doing things responsibly and ethically, you know. But it's, like I said, they're buddy fuckers. That's the problem with this world. Is narcissists where they think everything is there for them. Everything's a tool for them. It's it just never stops. Like, was that you that sent me uh, a meme about? It was a joke about, like, somebody was like, "Oh yeah, the James Webb Telescope just found city lights on a planet so far away," and then
Yeah, right, right. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's I mean, it's like fruit. Right. Right. Sean, man. Hey Sean, I'm having a mic issue. Did you like play I think you like knifed into your phone or your computer? I'm having a hard time hearing you. No, I don't know. Uh, yeah, I can hear you, but it just is it's coming through a little bit quieter. I just didn't know if it was something. Yes, that's a little bit better. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. Dude, it makes absolute it's sick as fuck. Like it really is am I? I can still hear you. You're good. You're good. Yeah, it really is kind of crazy. Yeah, when you dive into uh you start diving down these conspiracies and Hollywood being controlled by the CIA and or just like at least having all these connections and then you look into all these you start seeing all these people who have this history of fucking around with young people and it's kind of hard not to think that sometimes it's like, oh, maybe there's this constant trafficking of children for, the purposes of stealing their life force energy. It's like, and if you're thinking of people that would, I mean, you look at like the Epstein Island, I don't believe that he's the only one that does that shit. I'm sure there
Oh
are
fuck
other,
no. Oh, he's only one.
You know, there's 15 other Epsteins, you know, but like at a certain point, you got to, you know, you either got to do what they do or else you're not in the club.
Yeah. And when it comes down to it's yeah, I mean the whole purpose of that whole kind of like when I was a kid, I always thought about like people who are become powerful, that they must have like people who are allowed to become powerful must have something over them that is like a life plug. You
It's
know
got
how
to
the
be.
Harkonnens have a heart plug in Dune?
Hmm.
Something
Hmm.
just pull real quick. Yeah, what they do, they get them to fuck a kid. 'Cause that's the worst
Yeah.
thing they can do and have proof about it so that if you ever get out of line, they can hold it over you.
Yep.
I don't think it has anything to do with life force. I don't think it has anything to do with adrenochrome, that kind of shit. I just think it has to do with fucking people are fucking perverted. When you have enough money, you get bored. Dude,
Yeah.
I've heard stories about like chicks, like sex workers who, get hired by, it's always these rich white dudes on cocaine wanting weird, and as they got to get shit weirder and weirder and weirder to get off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People, and
Absolutely.
there's just horrible. There's all kinds of fucking humans in this world. Horrible fucking humans who want horrible things. They want to hurt people. They want to. I mean, there could be somebody who looks fucking absolutely normal, but in that fucker's head, they want to hurt somebody in a horrible way, sexually or sexually and gruesomely, whatever. And they want to do it to babies. They want to do it to old women, men, children, whatever the fuck, anything, to an animal. There's just fucking horrible shit out there. And if there's a demand, capitalism supplies it. Supply,
Someone's gonna.
supply and demand. And like I said, human trafficking has been a huge man. Like, look in the Bible, dude, man. When God's telling the Hebrews to go fucking kill men, women, and children, or take them as concubines.
Mm.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's everywhere. Fucking even where God is condoning it.
Well, I mean, you look at some of those
And this is a book
texts.
that fucking, there's three fucking, Abrahamic religion. They all fucking do that shit. They all talk about it.
Oh, dude, I was
Their
gonna
God
say,
fucking said it's okay.
you know, it's like some people believe it's like as long as they're not a part of your religion, then it's okay to fuck them or kill them.
Yeah.
Righteous, righteous brother.
Lord's ways aren't our ways.
Yeah, I think you know, and it does, you're right. It does make it really hard at some point for me to even like waste the time. Like, dude, I used to love watching football. Now I'm like, this shit has to be rigged. I mean, at least to the extent of like, I mean, think about how many, there's a shit ton of games that come down to some referee penalty that you're like, clearly that's not a penalty, that's bullshit. You know, Vegas, the house always got to win. Um, you know, and the only one that I really still enjoy is fighting, but even that, you know, like that's just the only one that I'll give myself some of the circus,
Yeah.
you know, but like there's but I think it's important sometimes because you got to fucking break free from some of the obsession. I mean, I get wrapped up in going down some of these rabbit holes and like I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense. This kind of makes sense, and you know, but if you're just thinking about like, wow, they're really just we're just out here being poisoned and you know, they're trying to milk us for every dollar they can before until we die, literally. Uh that's it doesn't it can feel very depressing, you know,
Oh,
if you're
fuck
not
yeah.
actively like kind of living in your own world and finding ways to like break through on the mental side.
Yeah, I think what we're doing right now is one of the keys, like, is getting out of your head and bouncing ideas off of other people and hearing other perspectives and so on and so forth is the key is to get out of yourself and out into the shared space, bounce, make sure you're not going insane. You got to have reference points,
Yeah,
at least for
you
me.
know. Me too, 100%. reference points are big for me. I feel like I mean that's something I used early on when I got clean. It was like I'd be living all of these different situations and always thinking about like, okay, I'm giving myself a new reference point of something that I've done and gotten through clean. You know, it's like going to a concert or seeing people that maybe are still struggling, whatever. But it's like just like living my life and like, oh, I can get through some shit, and not have to kill myself through it or poison myself through it. And so, I mean, it's just like to be able to draw upon that, I think is important. And the more different people you talk to, if you talk to anybody for longer than 10 freaking minutes, you're going to start finding some similarities just naturally.
Oh yeah.
And the more divided we are, the more we think like, oh, this person's just some extremist over here or doing this. The harder it is for us to connect with them. And I in the last few years has really like kind of expanded that. I mean, like you were talking about earlier. I mean, I know for me, it's like I see some people and I'm like, I can't even talk to this fucking idiot.
Oh yeah.
But the reality is that like I need to. Like I feel like I need to find ways to connect because I don't want to carry that type of anger or like frustration around. Because
Yeah.
it seems pretty simple to just like, okay, think for your fucking self, dude.
Yeah. It's what I'm referring to is the people who refuse. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They're just so fucking, like the Dunning-Kruger effect. They're fucking
Yeah.
don't even know that they don't know. You know what I mean? And then they're not even willing to fucking look around. It's like I find the people who are willing, like you. It's just like, I'm not trying to change you or anything like that. I'm you're just another person that I can mesh with and get new information from, and I can give information to, and we can explore things. We're not trying to say, hey, I'm right and I'm wrong or anything like that. We're just actually just like, hey, this is what I got. Yeah, this is what I got. Okay, let's compare and look at how things go, and what did you do in this situation in your life? This is what I did. How did it work for you? This is how it worked for me. You see what I mean? This is how actual, you know, how it's always been. Two tribes get together, they hang out for a day, and they share their knowledge. And now they're both
Yeah.
unified, and they both have extra, and now they're both twice as good. You see what I mean? And that's sharing. That's cooperation, and that's something else we could talk about: cooperation versus competition. I fucking hate competition. I don't give a fuck about it, dude. I don't give a fuck about jiu-jitsu competitions. I don't give a fuck about MMA. I don't give a fuck about anything. I'm all about, like, I want to see a society where we have events where it's all about cooperation. How far can we get in something? How much can we achieve with cooperation? Can we achieve this task? Can we achieve this goal? Can we hit it? We'd be fucking on other solar systems already if we acted like that. You know, competition, sports is an indicator of war. It's a mini war. It's a fake
Yeah,
war.
my
It's a
side versus
stage
your
war.
side.
Yeah, it's like sumo. Sumo was invented so that the Japanese didn't have to kill each other over the rice paddies, over the like who had the rights over the rice that season. So
Hmm.
they just had two people wrestle, not just kill each other for it, but wrestle for each other so that everybody can live. Okay, but it's still a symbol of war. It's a symbol of competition. It's a symbol of me against you instead of cooperation. And you and I together. We can get further together than against each other. So my philosophy is when we see the end of sports, we see the end of war. It's no longer there in our hearts. Well, like somebody told me, my professor, my academic advisor in business college was like, well, how would you, like without competition, how would you know who's the best? And like, do you want a doctor who is the bottom of their class? I go, how about just standards? Really high fucking standards and making it really hard to get through. So if you want it, then you really get it, because you fucking work super hard and it had nothing to do. Because what if you're the smartest guy in the room, but everybody's IQ is 98? It's you see what I'm saying? It's relative.
Right.
Competition is relative. Look, when I got out of the military in 2010, I'm sitting there watching the UFC. I mean, I'm watching the UFC. Everybody's like, "Oh, the UFC's just gotten so much better and over and over." I go, "No, it looks like fucking paint by numbers. Everybody sucks, and you got two people that suck. It's just still a good fight because it's relative. If you know what I mean, two people that
Yeah.
suck, they're the same thing. They can actually put on a good show. It's when you have somebody that's awesome and somebody who sucks, that it becomes lopsided.
Right.
Now, I'm not talking about sucks in the sense of, you don't know a submission from your fucking asshole. Where you got two people out there humping a doorknob, and they can't finish the fight. I'm just saying, two equally skilled people who may only know three moves are still going to put on a good show. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so my point was that it's just everybody sucked. Everybody was just watered down. If people were would start training and in 2 months they'd be fighting in an MMA match, an amateur MMA fight. I should
Yeah.
have at least a year training before you're ever even thinking about stepping in it. Especially MMA, because you've got a lot of things to catch up on.
Oh yeah. In the modern era, it's definitely different as far as people's skill sets.
See,
But
and go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was always a fan of those early days where, it's like almost just like style against style, no time limit. You just go in there and rock it out until you're done. You
You
know.
said something earlier about you were learning how you train. You're learning to go. You got to do your stand up. You got to do your ground. You got to do your striking. You're like looking for all the parts to fill in and to blend. Okay.
Hmm.
Back in the day, the early UFCs, you had your complete fighters. They could punch, kick, go right into grappling, into takedown, into submission, and it wasn't uh, uh, what you see today of these paint by numbers where it's punch, punch, kick, okay, and now we can grapple, and now there's a takedown. Now you know what I mean? It's not like this flow where
Right.
it's, the old school guys. We had it all. Like we can make seamless transitions from each thing. When I got out of the military, you would go into a gym. You would have a jiu-jitsu coach. You'd have a boxing coach. You'd have a wrestling coach, a judo. You know what I mean? You have all these different coaches for different things instead of one guy who can do it all. You get it? What I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is
Yeah.
how some of these places were set up and the coaches were. Like the head coach was known for his jiu-jitsu. That's what he had. And then he would hire a catch wrestler, or not a catch, I mean like a kickboxer or a boxing coach or whatever. And then all these coaches would argue with the fighter when they were training him. Well, that's not a boxing stance. That's not a kickboxing stance. That's not a wrestling stance. You know what I mean? It's like, no, this is MMA. So you have to have a different stance and all of that. So it
You're
gets
right.
confusing. So, like when I train people, I know how to box for MMA. I know how to kickbox for MMA. I know how to wrestle for MMA. I know how to do jiu-jitsu for MMA. And I know how to make it all blend together. It's not something that not everybody has. It's something that's from.
Well, yeah. When you got into the, what is it, Shingi Tai Jiu-Jitsu,
Yeah, that was in
and
1997.
you talk about that was like early MMA, it had everything, the stand up, the judo, the
It's
submissions.
like MMA. Like John Saylor, my coach, who coined the term Shin Gi Tai Jiu-Jitsu. Shin means mind, Gi means technique and skill, and Tai means body. Without those three components, you can't be, a complete person, let alone a complete martial artist.
Right.
So he was the head coach at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, and he was trying to figure out, like how, he was putting an art together. He knew that he needed to put all the things together, like, the grappling, the striking, the throwing, the submissions. and he was doing pre-UFC. He was like doing little UFCs before the UFC even happened. He uh, would have like the Taekwondo guys fight a wrestler, the judo guy fight a boxer, and do these crisscross applesauce, fights like you saw in the UFCs, and then he would draw from all these things and find out what techniques were working on a continuum, like that was consistently working, what didn't work, what was effective, what wasn't effective, all that kind of shit as he was like putting together these fights. Matter of fact, the Gracie Challenge came to over there, and Horion Gracie challenged him twice because he John Saylor, like, to give you an idea, his left shoulder is completely paralyzed. He can't raise it up like this. He has to like go like this. And this is all the further he can raise it. It's like up to here.
Oh shit!
And he fought Horion Gracie twice to a draw with one arm. And that didn't make it to the Gracie Challenge videos.
How could it with a one-armed guy getting a draw against a two-armed Torian Gracie in prime Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in action?
Right? See that, I'm not talking shit about the Gracies, but, hey, they are known for, padding their...
Orion's a good marketer.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. It's business. That's what the whole thing is. It's the new... Brazilian Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is kind of like... it literally replaced Tracy's Cry.
It's very karate-esque these days.
Oh yeah, it's just popular. It's mainstream now. See, back in the day, hell, I remember 1997. Half the people didn't even know who the fuck what the UFC was. Like if I said I fought in the UFC, nobody fucking knew what that meant. It didn't give me clout. It didn't fucking perk anybody's ear up. Oh, you did something that I was like, what the fuck's that? And then I would explain, like, why in the fuck would you do that? You're an idiot. That's how I was treated, and talked to by people, especially conservatives, and that was me. I was a Republican. I was a conservative Republican, right? And then John McCain's calling what I do human cockfighting and shit like that, and now UFC is what? It's the sport of the conservative Republican. It's
straight
part
up.
of the anthem, it's part of the bling. It's part of the check.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's weird how everything just fucking changes like that. It's social fucking culture is not your friend. Remember that. I think Terrence McKenna said it.
He's got a million good quotes.
Right.
That's like what's been so frustrating. It's like I feel like my whole life I've done whatever I can to try to like buck the system, and like there's basic shit that it's like, hey, if that doesn't make sense to me, I'm not fucking doing it. Right? Like I'm not living my life based on some shit that was written hundreds or thousands of years ago and has no application to today. It's like I'm trying to figure out how I can, function as a free, sovereign human in this world.
Yeah, and my time as a Mormon was like dude, I was voluntarily, like, I made a covenant to not question. I made a covenant to not buck the system, to go along with it, to obey everything. And I'm still fucking unprogramming that shit in my life. And I left the church
I can only imagine.
I left the church in 2016. And dude, there's still so much that's so ingrained in me to like you have to decompress. You have to what's it called when you get rescued out of a cult and you got to get deprogrammed. That's what it is. Deprogramming takes a while because I was so I gave myself to it. I believed it was true, man. And I believed the story. I believed the overarching thing. It was a cool story. And, but, it was just a story because nothing else added up, it all has to add up. It all has to work for it to be true. And there's just some bad stuff, dude. I just can't fucking do it. and I just couldn't do it anymore. And, and I had the support of my wife. We both left together and the whole family left. And, all of our family members are kind of bummed about it and everything, of course, but, that are in the church. The ones who aren't members of the church are happy about it. They're like, about fucking time,
Oh, do you still get to see any of your family that's still in the church, or is it
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, my mom, she's a member, and my brother, they're the only ones. So my mom's dying of Alzheimer's right now. And then, my brother, he lives in Kentucky, but we see each other once in a while and talk every once in a while, but we just don't talk about that.
right. I totally understand that.
But I've apologized to all my friends because I look back and I realize how much of an asshole I was, you know, constantly trying to teach my friends, trying to convert them and shit. And, because that's just your main goal is to be an example to everyone around you, be a good Mormon example to everyone, all things and all places that you may be in, even until death. It's fucking nuts, dude. Like it's impossible to live up to everything. And that impossibility leaves a fuck. It's just, it fucks with you, dude. It's like being raised by a narcissistic parent.
Well, I mean, is it? I mean, I think there's an element of. I mean, obviously, I don't know exactly the nitty gritty of your conversion techniques, and I've never really experienced Mormon conversion techniques other than like we had talked about the guys in the mall, and those guys really were just trying to have some conversations. But I would think that it's like you're active in that, you love that, that's your life. Like you want people to be saved. You think
Oh
that
yeah,
it's like, so it's coming from a place of love. It's coming from a place of care and compassion, right? I understand that. It's just, unfortunately, you changed your thought process, and I get that it's like it could feel like I was an asshole, but I would think that it's I almost think it's kind of commendable because I just don't think it's easy for anybody that's religious to just like I couldn't do that. Like I've never felt like like the people that I knew that were super religious in any religion, I was like, good for you, buddy. Um, just because it's like that element of being like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian and this and that. Like for me, I'm like, whoa, coming from a Catholic background that I didn't feel like I fit in, and they couldn't answer the questions I had, even
right.
as like a fucking 10-year-old. Like the answers were not making sense to me. And I was like, I have a hard time with this, you know. But I think it's commendable, to commit for over 20 years and really put your life into it and explore it and not like to
Oh,
continue to dive deeper into it. I think it's important.
yeah, it wasn't a lazy dude. I the first thing I did when I joined, I got all the student manuals from BYU and studied the Bible and the Book of Mormon and the Doctrine and Covenant, all of it, dude. I was basically like a theologian. I didn't just study I studied all of my religion and other people's religions so that I could have a grasp as to what they understood. So when I talked to them, I could help them understand Mormonism better. But I understood, like, as I studied everything, opened my mind to absolutely everything, I just started realizing, I was like, yeah, there's a lot more similarities and everything. Like the things that I thought were unique to Mormonism weren't actually unique to Mormonism at all. It was just recycled stuff. But the main thing was, like I said, the church history, uh, the actual events and how things happened, the church's narrative and things like that over the years, and that they started realizing that they couldn't hide the shit anymore, so they tried doing like a soft expose of themselves kind of thing, trying to like explain it themselves to for damage control. And that was all I needed, was just simply the church's essays, and and also just, I actually know church history. I studied, and I actually studied everything and did more than my homework, and faithfully, uh, which ended up actually me finding out the truths. were the false, that were, the falsehoods of the church. So I could no longer look at the sun and say that it wasn't there. Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
okay, time to walk. I'll salvage the rest of my life and figure out what to do next. Let's say I'm happier.
One thing I have interest in hearing a little bit about too is your inventions,
Yeah,
and
I can't talk about it much, but building one for
ju-
right now. So,
what is just kind of like a little bit. I've always just been like so intrigued by the idea of inventing and like some of the process, without necessarily giving away what it is that you're working on. But
well,
I feel like to create that, where does that come from?
okay, so it just comes by, it's like I call it, like you used to call it revelation. And now I just, inspiration from, the universal ether, I guess. Like, for example, so this one thing I'm working on right now, the same day that I drew up the design for what I'm working on, I drew up this other design of this tube with a handle in the middle that had a bearing, a ball that traveled in the tube, and you would go like this, and the ball would go around, and you would keep it going. And I couldn't figure out how to make that happen, so I went ahead and did this other thing, which is a bar, using centripetal force. But this ring thing now is like a couple of years ago, I saw this product come out called the Axio Trainer. And what was cool was when I was in my garage and I drew this up, my wife was with me. And the Axio Trainer product is the actual what I fucking drew up. And I had the idea that day, the same idea, at the same time as I got the idea for the other design. And this other guy must have gotten the same, inspiration or whatever. Like if one person's thinking it, you got at least a few others thinking it somewhere else on the planet. So next thing I know, I see this fucking Axio Trainer out here. I show my wife, she's like, "You're shit." I'm like, "No, my brain works, man. My brain, works." Now, another invention I did was the Soft Club, which I just gave to the world on Instagram. You posted that video of that thing. That was actually my sales pitch. That was for my entrepreneurship class. I was talking to my professor for the class. I think it was like a 20-minute long video of me explaining the shoulder hammers, things that I built,
Yeah.
the soft clubs and things like that. But those ended up.
You invented that?
Yeah, I invented that because I invented those after my second and third set of shoulder surgeries when I was in the military. My first version of that was like dim mak, those steel shot bags that you use for Chinese gung fu. I had those connected to a rope with some handles, and I was training at it. I did a seminar at Westside Barbell was showing these different things that I made to work out with and stuff. But those shoulder hammers things actually inspired this other thing that I made that I'm working on now. So that was actually like that. Inventing those other things, coming up with those other things, actually was a segue into the other part. So it's like from my surroundings, like the bar that I'm working on was inspired by it was inspired by the bamboo bar. It was inspired by the spinning, those soft clubs I made, the shoulder hammers, and a couple other things. And it's just like everything in my surroundings, I absorb. I know is there, and like I can put things together. Like things that don't normally belong together, I can make them fit well. Kind of like how like a good detective talks about, thinking of like looking at things that look like they don't relate to each other at all. To get clues.
Right.
Same kind of thing. I can take things that don't fit. So like it hit me like the perfect thing that was said about it was that Maynard James Keenan biography. his book called The Perfect Union of Contrary Things. When I heard that title, I was like, Jesus Christ, that is exactly it. Like, I see shit
Mm.
that doesn't look like they belong, but I can make it work. Um, and it's just how my life has just always been. Um, I was really bummed out that he came up with that title. I just would have been. That's just a cool fucking saying. That's just a good way to describe it. Like that's actually a way to like that's exactly how detectives solve crimes is because they're looking at things that you wouldn't think to ever look at that you
Yeah.
would think has nothing to do with the crime.
So yeah, Sherlock Holmes is my favorite literary character of all time.
Good stuff.
That's oh yeah.
Um,
Do you what was I about to say about that? Those shoulder hammers look like they are something serious though.
yeah, they work well. They're the reasons why it took like I kept myself from having to get shoulder replacement. I probably delayed it about 5 to 10 years by using the stuff that I invented. And then, like for example, this other thing that I'm working on now, that I have a model that I use, a working model, but it's not like the end patent, what it's made out of, like what it will be made out of, like to sell. I used it during my shoulder replacement recovery early on. Like it's a way of working out without. It's hard to explain, but it worked really well for my shoulder replacement. I was using it like 3 weeks after my surgery when like other things you can't be using. I was able to use this without hurting my shoulder and only kind of helping it, making it feel better. Um, I was really stoked about it because I tested it on myself and it worked. So I'm stoked about that.
Okay, proof of concept, baby.
Yeah. So when you come here and visit, you'll see it. Like I have the stuff here. You'll be able to mess around with it.
Honestly, I'm excited about like the yoga straps from the ceiling and decompressing my hips, flipping upside down in the
Yeah,
meditation position.
I've got three different things for spinal decompression. No, four different things here for spinal decompression. Actually, five if you count the reverse hyper, because that does spine. Oh, six if you count the glute ham. Seven if you count the Roman share. I know different, dude. I know all kinds of different angles and ways to decompress the spine and body parts. So, like my whole basement's a rehab kind of facility. Like, like those are the
Mm.
you see the reverse hyper and all that
Yeah, yeah.
there.
Yeah, I just tried one of those for the first time. I was at a buddy of mine's and he had built one. Uh, it's different.
Oh, the reverse
It
hyper.
felt great. Yeah.
Yeah, it puts a good pump in your lower back, your whole erector spinae. Yeah, like that's another thing. Like when I met my coach John Saylor in '97, the first person he took me to meet was Louis Simmons at Westside Barbell, and it was I've been a student of Louis since '97.
Mm.
Learning the conjugate method because like in Shingi Tai Jiu Jitsu we really use the conjugate method heavy just for training. I mean like Shingi Tai Jiu Jitsu is conjugate. It's a complete Jiu Jitsu. It's got striking, throwing, and Jiu Jitsu. So it's got all the great striking of like Muay Thai and Dutch kickboxing. Um, it's got judo and Greco-Roman and wrestling, throws. It's got sambo, BJJ, judo, newaza. Like all of it is there. Like it's a complete
Right.
fucking art, and you know it takes a while longer. Like for example, like I mean, when you're studying throwing, striking, and ground fighting, it takes a while, a little longer to achieve your black belt, things like that, because you're working on not just one thing, but a few things, and it's a syllabized mixed martial art, if you will. You know what I mean? So it's a solid thing, and I truly believe in it, love it. It's Shin Gi Tai has been my training and life philosophy ever since I heard it. Um, It's a solid approach for success, period. Mind, skill, and healthy body.
I mean, no wonder you've dedicated over 30 years of your life to the martial arts.
Yeah, it's alchemy.
Yeah.
It's how I perceive the world. It's how I navigate it. It's, the word Jiu, you know, in judo and jujitsu means to yield, uh, give way. You don't always have to be up. You know, Jiu means like when they push, you pull. When they pull, you push. Uh, Learning how to navigate this life in a fashion that's peaceful as well. You know what I mean? In my jujitsu, I do the least amount of damage as I'm doing it. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want anybody to hurt me. That's my goal in jiu-jitsu. Is to not hurt someone and not be hurt.
Yeah, if you hurt them, then you don't get to play with them.
Right?
You know, that's yeah, that's one thing I like about as I've started maneuvering more in jiu-jitsu, and the more I train and kind of understand different pathways and like transitions and feeling comfortable in transition, like it's uh it really has been changing because like I've transitioned kind of out of that blue belt bruiser phase into purple belt, just really enjoying like moving around and actually understanding where some of the details are, and understanding that it's like trying to figure out like where the little fights are. And I think the biggest thing is how much I like being able to feel like I'm present when I'm training. Like it feels like it's one of the few times where I can really turn everything else off and just focus on that moment at hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the only time I don't feel pain.
Say that the truth.
Well, when I was able to do it, now I'm so fucked up I can't even do it. To not feel pain. It's a continuum. It just gets worse and worse for me. But I mean, that's how my whole entire like the journey's gone. Is like I've had setback after setback after setback. Every time I get a stride, I get another surgery. And it's like fuck. I'm at surgery 24. I'm about to have surgery 25. I just had my shoulder replaced 3 months ago, and then I just found out I got to get my fucking back fused again. And then I found out my neck is so bad that if I'm in as much as a fender bender, I could be paralyzed. So that tells me, like if I get hit in the head really hard, I could be fucking paralyzed. So I mean, my whole life has changed over the fucking past week, like just with finding out what's going on with me. So I have a fucking very bleak future, of stiffness and lack of mobility. And I mean, I don't even know if they can go in and fix my neck because of where the damage, like what's going on. My neck is fused from C6 to T1 already, and the discs above are going bad. And the bones, all my bones, for some reason, throughout my whole body, grows these gnarly fucking bone spurs. Doctors thought I had ankylosing spondylitis, so I had testing done for that, which came back negative. But yet my body just produces these fucking bone spurs. I got bone spurs throughout my my shoulder had to be replaced because I had this fucking like spike coming off my humerus that was digging into everything. And so they had to replace that. And then I got bone spurs growing off my vertebrae. One L2, L3 is going into my spinal canal. A bone is, and then bones are growing towards my abdomen. And the bone spurs are growing off my vertebrae on my neck and into my throat. It's like, what the fuck is going on, dude? Like, I don't even know if I got like 10 years left in me if I just keep going like this. I don't know. But I've already had my lower back opened up 3 times. I've had 4 spinal surgeries altogether. Fucking just had my 8th shoulder surgery. And then my right shoulder will probably need replaced, a couple of years. Fuck, dude. My left knee just had 3 surgeries. That's the next one's going to be a replacement. I have what's called hypermobility disorder. So with that, it's like Ehlers-Danlos. My joints just fucking slip and slide all over itself. So as it's doing that, it's wearing down the cartilage, and then it gets to bone on bone. So my L2, L3 disc is completely gone. I'm bone on bone, no height left, complete stenosis. L3, L4 is herniated into the spinal cord, and SI joints need fused. So L2, L3 needs fused. SI joints need fused, and my L3, L4 needs cleaned out. So it's like, fuck. And then we'll do something with my neck. After that, and then by the time all that's done, probably the shoulder will need, and the knee. So it's like, my future is really fucking bleak. I know what my future is. It's a fucked up thing to know it and to know it's to come. And I'm trying to be cool about it. I'm in a bad spot right now.
I mean, and forgive me because some of this is out of ignorance, and obviously when I hear you talking about it, there's a lot of that of is outside of my wheelhouse as far as things like the full grasping the full knowledge of like understanding. And I think you did a pretty good job of describing what it is that you're going through, and I'm sure anybody listening is going to have no other thought other than, wow, that is fucked up. And I really do appreciate your candid nature about all of it, because this kind of shit is important, man. And like, these are like real conversations, because for me, my brain is trying to solve the problem. I'm trying to think like, well, can he do some fucking yoga? Like what fucking,
I've already tried it all. That's the thing. Like you saw,
you know,
like I have everything down here. Like I do all my protocols. I could have needed surgery like a couple years ago, but because I do all my protocols, I'm staying upright a little bit longer. Because of what I've done, having for example, having the reverse hyper in my life since 97. I was just telling my son, I go, I could have had all these surgeries 10 years earlier. Like all the things I do help me. They, they held off until I absolutely had to, and that's where I'm at now. Like I was having these symptoms back in April when I got my MRIs, but I did all this stuff and it helped me hold the pain. Cause like, you gotta understand, dude, like 24 surgeries. I've been listed as a chronic pain patient since, 2003. And my new, like when they say from a scale of 1 to 10, where's your pain at? I have to tell doctors my new 0 is 5. You get me? That's my new baseline.
yeah.
I live at a 5, bro. All day, every day. No matter what, I'm feeling a level 5 pain throughout my body. And then it just goes up higher. It just gets worse from there, but it never comes down past 5. I got too much arthritis, too much shit going on, and dysautonomic shit going on. My body's completely dysregulated. I'm going in and out of fight or flight. I'm having pre-syncope. Pre-syncope is when you almost pass out. You see all the fucking DMT fucking trails.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh, but you catch yourself and then you come back out. It's like tomorrow morning, I'm actually going in for a tilt table test to find out if I have POTS, which I most likely do. Yeah, my life is fucked up. I feel like an alien. I feel like I don't belong here. I feel like there's just like I'm supposed to be in another atmosphere. Like I just constantly fucked up. Like, and that's the autism part. It's I'm just so dysregulated. I don't, I'm like always in a kind of like in a state of confusion almost. It's just the way I register everything. I have texture issues. Uh, I have misophonia. I can't listen to people chewing around me. I have sounds affect me. Sometimes I get synesthesia. Sometimes I can hear light and see sound. My world's weird, man. It's psychedelic in and of itself. I feel very comfortable like on mushrooms and acid and things like that. That to me, when I take that stuff, I feel it like in a familiar realm. Like this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I fit.
Have you taken any psychedelic journey about any of this stuff lately?
No, I haven't. I need to. I'm thinking I'll do like a DMT kind of thing. I usually get some good clarity out of that. I'll probably mushrooms like the strain I got right now are pretty strong. they're the wrong ones for. I use those only for microdosing. I get smaller
Right.
because it kills the pain. Penis envy is really good for like 0.1, 0.2 for pain management.
I agree. I've been utilizing microdoses, throughout the last few years. I used to be a big believer in that everyone needs to, eat at least an eighth or 5 grams and go to the spirit world. At this point, I'm not so sure. I mean, I still think it's very beneficial, but I know for me,
Microdosing goes longer, goes farther.
by the microdose, I mean, I'll take a microdose, whether, before maybe physical activity, going for a run, going to do jiu-jitsu, and it's just like the sun shines a little bit brighter. Some of that just like crushing nature of reality, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I just relax for a second and breathe.
It's nature's Zoloft.
Yeah, literally, and you can almost even at a point when you're not taking enough to where you're expecting to feel anything, when that microdose wears off, you can feel it.
Yeah. It's a little bit, it's somewhere between Zoloft and Concerta, or like Ritalin. In the sense, it doesn't give you, I'm not saying it gives you like a speed
speedy
effect. I'm just
feel.
saying you can focus.
Yeah.
I can control my thoughts. I can control what's normally like, a bunch of shit going on. I can control what's going on up there, and I have better emotional regulation. I don't feel as emotional when I microdose. Like all this natural stuff between marijuana and psychedelics. I got off of an 8-pill cocktail that the military like military docs had me on. I was on that shit from 2007 till 2012. They had me on Percocet for pain, Concerta for my ADHD during the day, Ambien for sleep, my sleep disorder at night, gabapentin, Neurontin, for nerve pain, Lyrica for nerve pain, Celexa for depression, Ativan, and they would switch between Ativan and Klonopin for anxiety. Yeah. What else was there? Flexeril for muscle spasms. And there was one more. Fuck, I had all these written down at one time. But yeah, you get the gist.
Yeah.
That half of that killed Heath Ledger.
Straight up. It's crazy, especially for military guys, how closely linked the pharmaceutical industry is, and the amount of shit they want to put you on, and don't want to just let you have some weed.
Right. Yeah, it was funny because while I was getting med boarded, I was staying at my buddy's
Med boarded.
Yeah, that's where they like decide whether or not you're going to get out regular, if they're just going to discharge you or medically to retire you. Luckily, I got medically retired. But I was staying at my buddy's house. Joseph Tardybone is his name, and he was actually down in Antarctica. He was doing a deployment in Antarctica, and I was staying
What was
at
he
his
doing
house.
there?
Just doing a tour or whatever, military, and then what do you call it? I stayed at his place, and I read. He had the Eddie Bravo book, The Rubber Guard, and in the beginning of The Rubber Guard, he had The Emperor Wears No Clothes excerpt right
Mm.
there. And I read that. I was like, wow, this might be how I'll get off of, all these meds and, help with all my stuff. Uh, so in a way, Eddie Bravo inspired me to, like, as soon as I got out of the military, to look into marijuana to get off all the medications.
Mm. Man, I saw a picture of you and Eddie on your Instagram, and I wanted to find a way to bring him up because that guy cracks me up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
listen to I listen to
So
his podcast all the time.
do you remember when he would, uh, like all those old school, like, pranks he did in his dojo? Like, they would act out like he was beating somebody up and choke him out and throw him in the back alley and shit like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was this guy named Reggie back in the day on YouTube, like around 2007, 2008. He would do stuff like go and like fight, like go to events and pick fake fights with these UFC guys, and they would let him beat him, like let him win.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'd be like fake shit. He was like a redneck kind of thing.
I might have to
Reggie,
look that up.
Reggie
Yeah.
something. Well, anyways, I was at UFC, the first UFC that was held in New Jersey, and it was like 68 or 78 or something like that. And me and Jason DeLucia were hanging out. We were there, and Jason DeLucia went and visited. We were downstairs in the lobby, and he went upstairs to Eddie Bravo's hotel room, and he did a podcast. And he came downstairs with Eddie, and Eddie looks at me. He's like, "Holy shit, Sean Daugherty, UFC 2. You were 18 years old when you were fighting." I was like, "Oh, hey, Eddie, nice to meet you." I didn't even know who that
Yeah.
was. Yeah, but that was right
That's
right
cool,
then.
man.
That was right after that we took that picture. That was in the lobby right after Jason got done doing a podcast with.
Mm. Damn, I'm gonna have to look into that podcast episode. But I've been listening to Eddie's
That
podcast
would
now
have
for
been
like the
two.
last.
That would have been 2000. That would have been like 2007 ish.
Damn.
Would have been so. That's a long time ago. You'd have to find that episode. It'd be 2007.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's somewhere on like YouTube or something. I think
Maybe.
I like some of the wild stuff some of those 10th Planet guys do, like that Hindula teen.
Oh
You know.
shit, dude! I forgot to finish the fucking story. The so anyways, the Reggie guy. So I was telling you about the Reggie. So
Yeah.
at the hotel. So later on, so we take the picture, right? Me, him, and Jason DeLucia were walking through the lobby, and all of a sudden this Reggie guy shows up and confronts Eddie Bravo. And Eddie Bravo's like, "Okay, yeah, what's up? What's up? What do you want to do something?" He's like, "All right." He takes out his earrings. He hands them to me. He's like, "Okay, you want to go? We'll go." So they proceed to fight. Reggie takes Eddie down, takes him down. And then he takes Eddie Bravo's back and puts him in a chokehold. And then Eddie Bravo's acting like he's passing out and this and that. And the hotel manager comes running over. There's just the buffer, right? And the hotel manager, "Hey, you guys stop right there." And I pull, "Hey, this is just a joke. This isn't really happening. This is a fake thing for video for YouTube, blah, blah, blah." "No, they got to stop. They got to stop. I'm calling the cop. I'm calling the cop." So I hurry up. I get down. So Eddie's on the ground doing convulsions like he's passed.
Mhm.
So I
Right.
grab Eddie. I get in his ear. I go, "Hey, Eddie, the manager's about to fucking call the cops. We're going to have to call this." I go, "I'm going to revive you." So I sit him up, and I put my knee in his back and I pull, I do the classic judo, knee in back and grab the shoulder blades and push back like this. Spine. And he goes, like he's gupping,
Right,
he
right.
comes to, because I'm like, "Yo, dude, we got to hurry up and get this wrapped up." So he gets up, done, lets it be. So we avoid the cops. That was my my first and only time.
Well, Eddie constantly talks about how what got him into Ultimate Fighting was UFC 2. He saw that everyone had heard about UFC 1 and some Iranian dude beating everyone. And then, he said the first UFC that he saw was UFC 2. And he's talked about it in like 100 of his podcast episodes.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And was UFC 2 the one where it was like the 16-man tournament?
Yeah. So my fight wasn't even aired that night. Like it didn't even show up on pay-per-view because uh, the first 8 fights weren't, except for Minoki Ichihara versus Royce Gracie. That's the only one that go figure.
Huh. I wonder why.
Yeah. And then I didn't even get to see my fight until it was 2002, 2003 when the Ultimate Hits Volume 1 or 2 came out, and I was a bonus feature. I wasn't even on that. I was a bonus feature fight that was never before seen. That was the first time I ever saw my fight. Was what, like almost 10 years later. 94 to 2002.
Yeah, well, hey, you were there. You know what happened. Yeah, I think about I just think about like Eddie's whole like philosophy on things and wanting to work a style that's good for fighting. And I like how Jean-Jacques in the old days, his style didn't change from the gi to no gi. It was all the same. I think it just also to touch back too. You brought up the DMT. I mean, I know we talked about it a little bit. I don't have a ton of experience, but I imagine that, like for me, it's hard to find 6 hours to sit on a yoga mat and eat a bunch of mushrooms, right? It's like,
hold on 1 second. Let me take a piss real quick.
cool, no worries.
Quick fix instead of that long having to spend time and have the 6 hours to get through it. You can get it done in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I listened to Turpin talk about it, and he talks about it. He'd do it, go bananas with it, wait like an hour, and then get right back at it.
Oh yeah, I did it one time for 3 hours straight. I would just come back, load it up, do it again, come back, load it up, do it again. I'd like to do like what they with the actually putting a IV of it into you, where you stay.
Oh, that dude, I've heard about them talking about doing studies,
trying to map out the landscape and
trying to map out the landscape. Yeah,
and the characters.
Did you ever read Strassman's DMT book about his studies? So
Randall Strassman, who is it? What's it?
I think his name Rick Strassman.
Okay.
He's got a book. It's called DMT, the Spirit Molecule, and it's about his studies with it. And like he goes through the entire process of how he got funding, how he even had a lab get the approval from the DEA to get a lab to make it. And like one of the things I thought was interesting too is he went to the Scottish Rite Freemasons and posed it as partially for schizophrenia research because they always throw money at schizophrenic research, apparently.
Okay.
I've not dived deeper into why they do that, but something there. And especially with psychedelic research, not quite sure what the connection is, but he goes through and he talks. They were just like hitting him with a shot, straight in the bloodstream, and there was like a lot. Obviously, everyone had some very similar experiences in a lot of ways. He talks about one thing I found really interesting was him talking about the way the brain absorbs the DMT. He compared it to the way you would feel drinking some ice cold water, like quenching your thirst after traveling in a desert for many miles. You
Okay.
know, and like he said, that's what the brain does with the DMT. It just fucking sucks it all up. Like it's like, oh,
Probably because we're like, because of the fluoride, our pineal glands are so calcified that we're not getting enough that we should be having. Like kids have higher amounts of DMT and they have a better imagination. Their color saturation's better within their eyes. Like there's like, as we get older, that shit dissipates, that's why like imaginary friends disappear as you get older because the DMT is less
well,
value, is less there.
and you're more connected to that other side because it hasn't been that long since you've been on this side.
Right. And they're saying that
They
they're figuring out that there's a little more DMT drippage in autistic people. Yeah.
Makes sense. They're yeah, in the book he goes into he talks about the first time we get a hit of DMT is at in the womb at 49 days. Uh,
That's it.
and then you get like a little bit, and it's like it coincides with something that happens in pregnancy with like maybe with your brain development or so I forget what it is now, but then he says like you the first like real blast of it you get when you're coming out of the womb onto this side, and there's you get bits of it while you're asleep, but then like the next really big time that you get it is when you die,
Yeah. Right.
and that's why he's he talks about they call it the spirit molecule because they kind of believe that it helps to transport your spirit into the next plane.
Yeah, I get it.
Like
Like I've heard people say it was like a way of, it's just a mechanistic way of us making death not so bad. uh, but yeah, it's another time it happens is like right before you pass out, like getting choked.
yeah,
Those dreams you're having, yeah, that's DMT. I remember the first time I did DMT, I was like, I've been here before. Once when I did meditation, and the other times was every time I was like near choked out. Or like when I was doing underwaters for pararescue selection. Uh, I did 70, when you're doing pushing 75 meters underwater and you're guppy and you're like, you start going, the scary part when it hurts, you're okay. You can stay underwater as long as there's pain. It's when everything gets euphoric feeling. That's when you need to come up
yeah.
from there because you're about to go out. And I've gone out before and like everybody talks about seeing the wizard and shit like that and having wild dreams. And it's like you're in DMT, like you're having a DMT dump. So anytime your body thinks it's about to die or it's in that
Right.
crisis, it'll dump DMT. So that's what's happening when you actually get choked unconscious. You're having a DMT experience.
No wonder. I always think this one time I was getting bow and arrow choked, and he only had like one side, but it was taken. It was a
Yeah.
while, and then all of a sudden, I heard like I stopped focusing on like trying to protect myself, and like the song was like
Yeah,
super,
the song.
and whatever was playing, I was like, oh man, this is. And then all of a sudden, I felt him switch to the arm bar, and I just felt my arm go what? Like I was like I don't even remember like how I said but I yelled or did something and he let go and I just was like it all came back and I was like that was trippy.
Yeah, that's
But
exactly what that was.
you said you had that situation before with meditation, and recently I've been diving back into the Wim Hof breathing, and when I've tried DMT, it's like there's a point where like I almost feel like you feel like that kind of pressure and like almost like a weight on your chest, and like I really had some very similar feelings in doing the Wim Hof breathing and some of those breath holds,
Yeah.
and it's just like it gets to a point after all that breathing where it's like you really feel that shit, you know?
Yeah, we're psychedelic beings, man. We're supposed to be having this stuff. We're meant to be having mushrooms. We're meant to be having DMT. We're meant to be having cannabinoids. Marijuana. Marijuana is another psychedelic. It's It's in the same family. It's just much more than what we know as our daily psychedelic.
Right, right.
The rest are one off. But it's I need it all. It's all necessary for myself, like my salvation. That's what keeps me going. It's been nothing but beneficial. Like, dude, there's been times where like I'm on microdose or whatever. I might even be on a stronger dose of mushrooms, and then like I'm on my way to go do something, and I get this idea that just changed everything. I just want to invest in it. I mean, like just wild shit, dude. Like no bad things, only good things have happened to me with something. Go by evidence. Good thing.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest reasons why they don't want us having them is because I mean I vividly remember I already was like on like a very much, oh, there's so much about this world that's bullshit. And I remember the day after the first time I ever did acid, waking up and just like the sun looked a little different. And I just had a feeling, and I just was like, oh, this is all bullshit. Like this is all bullshit. These rules are bullshit. Fucking, I'm on the right track. I just need to keep focused on on finding ways to better in tune myself with God, others, the creation energy, you know, and that's been the path always. It's like um I always felt so connected, and I mean at this point it's definitely much more mushrooms. I think it's in the realm of psychedelics that I do more than like eat acid, but I mean mushrooms. It's easy for me. It makes sense. They grow that way,
Mm-hmm.
you know. They reroute like the science is coming out that parts of your brain that are dampened and blackened from depression and stress and anxiety get re-lit up from all the fucking neurotransmitters
I,
rewiring while you're tripping.
I have a friend who had a stroke and his left side was paralyzed. I gave him mushrooms and his left side works now.
Shut the fuck up.
Dead serious.
Damn.
He sent me a video right after like eating them. Like he was in his trip and he was fucking raising his arm up in the air, standing up and standing on his leg. That
The
he
mind is crazy.
fucking A, bro. Like elasticity, plasticity. That's the word. Uh,
Neuroplasticity.
Thank you. Neuroplasticity. That's the shit right there, man. Like you can make new routes.
Yeah.
It's
And relight. It's crazy. The brain, it just wants to, if you have something fucked up in your brain, it wants to try to find a solution. I mean,
mhm.
bodies are crazy,
It's awesome. I'm
you
amazed
know.
by it. Like and hey, dude, I would have never fucking known half this shit. Like mushrooms teach me, dude. Psychedelics teach me. Like I learn and I am edified. It's not like getting high. I don't fucking do any kind of drug to party, to get high. Now I used to drink to calm my fucking brain and shit. I'm almost a year sober now, but I was drinking like I wasn't drinking like 12 packs a night or anything like that, but it was like 3 to 6 almost every night since 2016. And I have what's called mast cell activation syndrome, and having that is like, I mean, for anyone drinking alcohol, it's poison, but for me, it's like a 10 times. It was fucking up my guts. It was causing inflammation throughout my body. It was lighting up my nerves. So when I quit drinking, like half my pain went away in my body, and my stomach cleared up so much. I had better mental clarity. But I think the reason why it took so long before it to hit me so bad was because of the psychedelics, kind of like giving me that boost and everything. I wasn't, it was counteracting the negative effects of the alcohol. But as I am off of it and I see the difference, it's like, wow, I don't even want to go back. Like I don't. Like I thought I was like take a year off and then start drinking casually again, but I don't even want that. I used to sleep to or drink to help me go to bed at night. Because my fucking, the downside of my brain is that it just doesn't shut off. Yeah.
I get it.
So
I really over the last few years have cut drinking to such a minimum. It's like if I don't drink, I mean it doesn't even matter because I just like I want to train, I want to work out, I want to make my body better. And when I'm drinking, even if I don't drink much, I'll still not feel like I'm operating at 100%, for another day or two, and
oh
that's
yeah,
that's too
it takes like
much.
48 hours to reset everything, and like dude, it fucks up your sugar levels, glycogen
Yeah.
storage, like so many things. It hits, but it's so readily available. It's acceptable.
All right.
That's good. That Jesus approves of your alcohol, but not your marijuana.
The
Fucking A.
You know, I have you seen that book, The Immortality Key, about the use of psychedelic wine and in like old Greek culture and Paleo Christianity?
No.
It came out a couple years ago. I heard the author on Rogan and got a copy of the book. A buddy of mine gave it to me, and I mean that thing is great. I'll have to get you a copy when I come up there. I mean, he goes through like a lot of different shit, but he talks about what he had to do to go to the Vatican Library, seeing all these crazy things, going to Greece. He speaks, so, like, he's like a classicist that speaks multiple dead languages, including like this classical Greek and just like all the stuff he had to go through to like translate different biblical stuff. And I mean, it's a really cool book, but they talk about the like the grain in that area. Like they would have those mysteries at Eleusis where Plato would go, Socrates, anybody, the who's who of that era would all show up, and you had to be initiated, and some secret society shit. And they would use this. He like talks about the recipe like being based on like the story of Persephone and Demeter and like some fucking drink that they made back then. And like the ergot basically, when made into this beer, instead of being like just straight poisonous, was psychedelic and apparently had compounds that are comparable to LSD. They even say there's a potential that that's what some of the Salem witch trials were about. A bunch of people made bread with this bag grain that had gone bad from the ergot and made them trip the fuck out.
Oh
And so they
yeah.
thought they were witches. Imagine, imagine being a Puritan and seeing a bunch of women all geeked out on some acid bread. There's nothing else to think, other than these people are witches, and I guess you need to burn them.
I guess so.
I mean, I can't fully put myself in that mind state, but I guess for the time, the last couple of years really, just to kind of double back, me, ADHD brain, I bounce around a lot. Fuck, now I forgot completely what I was just about to say.
But yeah,
I don't think,
Cannabis trials. Dude.
no, it had literally nothing to do with any of that. But on another note, then, since I don't even remember what I was about to ask, there was one thing I heard you say on another podcast. Maybe it was the Today's Boondoggle podcast.
Okay.
But you were talking about your kids, and and it was something I needed to thank you because it was something that I've had to check within myself, and as a dad of three small kids, and you were talking about how your relationship with them changed uh, after at one point you always looked at them as an extension of you,
Right.
and then that perspective changed to one where they're not an extension of you, they're their own little beings, and like when I heard you talk about that, it just really was like it blew my mind because that's been my thought process, is that they're an extension of me, and while obviously I was,
For a
and
long
that
time. For a long time, I felt just like my inner voice that I use with myself. That's harsh. I was using with them. The way I talk to myself in my
that's
mind, I was
exactly what
talking
you were
to
talking
them.
about.
And when I talk to strangers, I talk to them in loving ways. Their kids, loving ways. was talking to them the way I talk to myself in my head, like coaching my head. So, which is harsh.
Yeah.
I had to disconnect that. See, treat them as strangers. Because I have to, to treat them with loving and, kind of, I'm fucked up. I'm sorry. But I have to,
Dude, I'm right there with
because I'm
you.
rough on myself. And if I find you as an extension of me, but that's also like a keynote of narcissism, kind of like a narcissistic behavior is to look at someone as an extension of you, like what you do reflects on me, kind of thing. That kind of
Right.
like what you do affects me, kind of thing, and it's that's a bad way to be. And I'm not saying you got to be a narcissist to have that, but you can have everybody uses narcissistic tools to a
Yeah.
degree.
100%.
We're all narcissists. We're all narcissists at one time. Every single one of us as a child. When we were all buddy fuckers.
Yeah.
But when we were a small child, everything's for us. Everything's for us. That's mine. That's mine. That's mine. That's mine. That's mine. That's mine. You're mine. You're mine. You're mine. That's what it's
Right.
like. But we don't grow out of it. We tend to have arrested development in some ways that we cope and deal. And that's because we usually have parents that some kind of authority figure that we pattern ourselves after.
Yeah, and it's
monkeys after all.
dude, and being a dad sometimes is fucking crazy, and I mean my kids are still very small, so I feel like if they're anything like me, which they are in a lot of ways, we're in for some really rad times and we're in for some character building times. But I really have been trying to look at things from that perspective, where I'm not coming at them from the voice in my head, the coach in my head, because it's like, damn, we will treat the people closest to us in a different way than we would a stranger, and like what the reality is, like, I almost feel like it should be the opposite.
Yeah.
Or if I'm gonna treat a stranger with fucking love and respect, I need to make sure I do that with my children first.
Yeah, when I lived in Japan, that was part of the culture. Like the Japanese treated, so like they were more formal and kind with their people that they love and care about than with a stranger. Whereas like in our culture, we would come to a friend's house and open the fridge, look in it,
Yeah.
sit down, put our feet up, and that's how we are with our friends, because that's how we treat our loved ones, because we want to be open with them, and stuff like that. But in theirs, it's more of like to be more formal. If I come to their friend's house, they're going to be more polite,
Right.
even more formal, because that's more love and things like that, and that's treating you better. And if it's a stranger, it's more cold. It's more, I don't know you, fuck you. Whereas us, we want the stranger to get to know us. We want to bring them in, and that's more formal. We're more formal and kind and etiquette with strangers than we are with our own. We show the people that we care about. We actually do the exact opposite of them. So it's kind of like somewhere in there. We got to like find that balance of like treating the ones we love better than the ones that we don't know.
Yeah.
That was something that just always kicked me nuts when I realized that about myself. It was like, Jesus Christ, I treat other people. The way I talk to strangers is how I should be talking to the people closest to me.
Right. I think that's a very valuable piece of insight. And I know when you had talked about it on the other podcast, it really was eye opening, and I really appreciate that you're such a deep individual and, have no problem sharing some of this stuff, dude. On the topic of the Japanese, I also like your thoughts on the difference in Japanese martial arts versus Jiu-Jitsu, and how the Japanese ethos and culture versus Brazilian ethos and culture, and then now you throw in the Americanized elements too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
everything is gonna be. It's like language, like when you learn another language, you actually learn to think differently. the Japanese are very straight line, linear, you know, sequence of events and strict adherent to everything, and everything is itemized and tagged, and Kaizen, 5S, everything for in its place and a place for everything. It's very ordered. Brazil has more of the circular feel. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
more, you can even, like Japanese, in Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be racist. I don't know.
No. Trust me, I get it.
Scooching the okay, whatever. You see what I mean? There's just
Yeah.
there's and then and it shows in how it's applied. How the arts are applied, and that's the difference. Like there's Japanese jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Now there's American jiu-jitsu. American jiu-jitsu is a fucking free for all.
Oh yeah, look at Gordon Ryan.
It's a melting pot. We throw fucking there's some Russian sambo and there's a gumbo.
Yeah.
Can
Wrestling.
Catch wrestling.
Get rid of the fucking gi.
Judo that my uncle taught me, and a little bit of the pro wrestling.
Like, you don't know what I'm capable of.
Yeah, pro wrestling, whatever. Right? Like Keenan Cornelius, he's out there pissing everybody off right now. But I'm like, he's got a point. It's literally like what is being upset about is that it's no longer going to be an oligopoly,
right,
of Brazilians. Now it's
right.
going to open up. American Jiu-Jitsu. It makes sense.
It might have been even Keenan that posted. Somebody sent me a video talking about American Jiu-Jitsu and pulled up all these old articles of American Jiu-Jitsu in the National Archives dating back to like pre Japanese going down to pre Gracie's, we'll say.
Yeah.
You look at that and it's like, well, but then again, you can always argue there's only so many ways you can manipulate the human body, and these ways have been, going on for thousands of years, they say. Obviously, I don't know what was happening thousands of years ago, but I know that
man has been alive, there have been fighting. There's been jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. It's I mean, shit, there's some building in San Francisco or some Greek looking kind of situation. I forget exactly where it is, but on each one, there's all these pictures kind of carved out around the side of it, up top. And there's some where, there's a guy heel hooking a centaur, it's, you could take that back to mythology.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, every culture's had it, jiu-jitsu's been around forever. Let's just call fighting jiu-jitsu, period. Because my jiu-jitsu has striking in it. It's not, everybody's thinking sport, and it's just no striking bullshit. Watch the old Gracies, everything had striking in it. I think real jiu-jitsu should always have striking of some sort, slapping, because it's self-defense. It's everything there. But yeah, again, it's dividing just like judo did. Judo used to be known for its self-defense. Then it became the Olympic sport. The IBJF international IJF. Fucked up the whole art. Because the sport bastardized everything into minimal technique that just is for sport instead of all of the technique.
Right.
Striking, and because it's so important to know how to strike and go right into a throw.
Right.
And underhook instead of throwing that right. And stepping right into either back step, going for the throw, and fall. And when I throw, I fall right up into a submission. All my throws are designed to have a submission.
Go immediately to Newaza.
Yeah, but that's how I do it. So that's why I like to stand, and I don't want to swing pulling guard. But if they pull guard, I know how to pass guard. I know how to tackle that too. I'm okay with it. You just made my job getting you there easier. I would prefer to throw you, but I'm usually going to submit you within a second of the throw. But you just fucked up. You just fucked up my first,
Right.
You know, my knockout is my first submission attempt. If I don't knock you out, my throw is my next submission attempt. If that doesn't knock you out, then the transition to the submission is what, you know, and you see what I mean? That's everything I go is for the kill.
Right.
Should be
Chain
able
it
to,
together.
you know, I'm not thinking, okay, I'm going to punch and kick, and now, okay, now I'm going to, you know,
Well,
tie up, and
I feel like punching somebody or throwing punches is a great opportunity to create kazushi and off balance them.
that's exactly what it is.
You know, and stress them out, you know? So it's like stress response plus,
Get
you
their
know,
heart rate up.
violence is,
Yeah, throw some punches to get them, and then you choke them out because they're
yeah.
going to go
And then
out.
they already have less oxygen.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they're breathing all shallow and tight, you know? I mean, that's always been, I think, like the thing is like any street fights you watch with people that are trained versus an untrained guy, it always just is like, okay, the trained guy is waiting 30 seconds for you to tire yourself out, and then he's just taking you down and doing what he wants.
Yep.
You know, it's great. It's great, man. You know, I guess we're at about midnight. So we can shut it down unless there's anything else in particular you want to bring up.
No, we could just have another. We can do another session another time.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like there's a million things to talk about. And
I think so. We covered
you know,
a broad array tonight.
that's how I like to do it. You know, just there's a million different things to talk about. I want to touch on a little bit of everything.
Well, it's all connected, all of it. Like we said earlier, you know, like you know, Jim Keenan's book, the Perfect Union of Contrary Things. You know, everything can be connected. All of it's connected. Nothing's contrary, actually. You know, but it's like we can talk about martial arts, religion, economics. You know, all of it. It's all connected. It's all one.
What did you say the other night? The micro mimics the macro?
Yeah, the micro. You know, yeah, micro and mimic is a smaller version of the macro. You know, we can learn about anything from the small, big, you know, to big, and vice versa.
I love it, man. And I really, like I said, dude, I really appreciate you coming on and taking a little time, chat with me, and share some of the stuff that you got going on. And
Thanks for
you
the
know, I
invite.
know that, dude, you've been integral in helping shape some of my process as a dad, my jujitsu, obviously.
I
You know,
appreciate that.
and those things are, you know, I think that's I'm super grateful that we've gotten to kind of become friends here. You
Yeah,
know,
no. Wait till I just tell my wife about you. I gotta go. There's this guy. He's just like he would ask me questions about the scythe and stuff, and he would actually ask me questions, and I and he would tell me he went and applied it and tried it, and he'd come back and ask me questions more and go back, and I go, this guy's fucking dedicated. And it's like I wish I had a whole bunch of students like that. I wish I had a bunch of guys like this around me, and you
I'm
just had that. You just have no. You're a martial artist. You're a self-driven autodidact, and you're fucking out there, dude. You're fucking pushing it. You're a good human. You're a quality human. Let's put it that way. You're a quality
Thanks.
human, and it's
Appreciate that.
it's you have density and depth. And that's a good thing. And that's what a lot of people are fucking missing in this world. That's why we're
100%.
you know. And you're somebody who I trust because you're somebody who knows what life is about. You're not spotless. You've been there and you've come back, and that's what I fucking like. I don't want people who've never been tested. I don't want somebody who doesn't have the fucking grit to fucking dig themselves out of a bad spot and fucking shine. That's fucking badass. You're that kind of guy. It's like that's what I want to be around. That's the kind of people I let in my circle, not these buddy fuckers.
Yeah, fucking buddy fuckers.
Yeah, you reach out, and you offer and you give back too, so it's like, that's who I want to offer and give back to myself. That's who I
Yeah,
want
well,
to.
I don't, you know, like as much as jujitsu is definitely adult karate, And it's not something that should be totally taken serious or put on a pedestal by any means. There is a lot of value and a lot of things to gain, and you do see a lot of people gatekeep great information or things that like help people. And like my whole mission just in life really is to grow and get better, and and not only and that's for all of life. But again, the macro mimics the micro, and so like even at jiu-jitsu, it's like I want to be the best training partner that I could be for somebody. I want to challenge others while I'm challenging myself. Dude, I saw you teaching like little clips on that arm bar, and I went and tried. I was like, oh, I already understand it from doing it this way, but this guy's talking about doing it another way. And then just like I can't tell you how many classes I went to just waiting for the time to roll so I can try and just shoot those up, and now it's like I see it everywhere, and it means a lot that you just be like, yeah, dude, you do this, and then you send me a video and be like, this is what I'm talking about. You gotta shift up on your shoulder here. You gotta have tension here, and like, you don't have to do that stuff. It's super cool, and I'd recommend anybody that's doing jiu-jitsu to watch your videos and learn, because you have such a wealth of knowledge and a cool understanding, not only of the sport. You don't take it serious. I mean, I think about how many people talk about, I'm going into a cage fight prepared to die. It's war, and you're like, dude, it's just a fist fight,
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I never thought about it from that perspective, because especially when you watch fights live, you could feel the energy and be like, whoa, it's a lot to walk into that cage and they close the door, and any competition, it takes a lot to put yourself out there in life in general, but and you're putting yourself definitely at a huge risk to get knocked out. But if you let go of your ego, that's nothing. So you're going out there, you're doing what you do every day.
Right. Well, and the funny part is, you say let go of your ego. It's the ego that's having these idiots do this shit to begin with, because they want to either look cool, be cool, you know what I mean, or be tough or act tough, or very few is it actually a test for themselves or for the right reasons. But what are the fucking right reasons? I mean, all of this shit's fucked. We already decided their society is fucked. It's already sick and decrepit. Like the shit that we're fucking talking about is bad shit.
Right.
I don't believe in it. It's not even something I want to even have in our society. Is people fighting in a fucking ring.
Hey, well, I'm doing everything that I can to try to better myself, learn some skills to be able to try to hopefully not divert the river and be a part of creating the something like the Hobbit. What is
that's
there?
what I always have in my mind, dude. A blend of like, we can have technology,
the Shire,
like things that make our lives easier, but have it work with nature. It doesn't have to. Like I like like our electrical grids should be like Tesla. We just have these, these things that come out of the ground that's just harnessing the energy in the ground, and it's just free, and it's not these wires everywhere and pollution. Having like pyramids over aquifers. Producing energy. I don't know. But no, everything's got to be monetized. So, capitalized.
Everything.
Capitalized.
I heard a dude a while ago talking about, the fall of globalism and like what that would be like, and how like in the modern era, you'd have some technology still, but then, you got like a lot of stuff happening that's like early 1900s-esque.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I'm
like, let's just fucking get there, man. Let's just
steampunk. You're talking steampunk.
Straight up. Then I can wear a cool hat and some neat little shades.
Yeah.
I fit right in my style, man. Sean, I appreciate you taking some time, man. If anybody interested in following Sean at Alien Blueprint on the gram, you have any other ways people can get in touch with you, or any shit that you're hawking, or look out for the inventions once they're patented?
Yeah.
Just because.
So I wanted to ask you. So it says you have it listed Sean Doc Etai. Did you put that?
Oh, no, there's an R there.
No.
Oh, LTAI. You mean? Oh, yeah. Let's Toke About It. That's the name of my podcast.
Okay, so what's funny is it looks like it says Itai, ITAI, which is the Japanese word
Mm.
for hurt, like ouch. So I'm looking at this, I thought it said Sean Doc Itai. So like Sean Doherty,
Yeah, just a
Sean Doc
lowercase
Itai.
L.
I thought you were being creative and did like this. Like Sean
Dude,
Doc Itai. I'm like
that's too
let's talk
creative for me.
LTAI, let's talk about it. Okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
that I like that though.
Yeah,
Dude,
so did
Sean
I. I was like,
Dakitai.
Sean Doc, ouch.
Yeah. Which is pretty applicable given the current state of your body.
Yes, always, and ADD was my like motto. Like I got from Jason Gotzi. It means always do damage, no matter what
Mm.
you're doing, no matter when you're moving around someone, no matter what you're doing, some kind of damage. And I've always been known to. I always tortured people when I grapple. So
Put that pressure on them.
yeah, elbows.
Good. Well,
Knives.
I can't wait to learn some of the little secrets when I come up and train.
It's called ripping and tearing.
The ripping and the tearing, baby. Ripping and the tearing.
You know that guy's a probably fucking piece of shit. He's somebody who probably would have gone to the island.
Oh, 100% on the island,
What was his
bro.
name? Terry?
Yeah. The ripping and the tearing.
Yeah,
Hedonism, baby.
this dude's a total fucking like that guy is like the microcosm of the world,
100%.
right?
100%. He is the epitome. You
That's
know.
awesome.
I appreciate you, Sean. Thank
All
you,
right,
man.
take care, brother.
You too.